Welcome to the Maximize Business Value podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Mastery Partners, where our mission is to equip business owners to maximize business value so they can transition their business on their terms. Our mission was born from the lessons we've learned from over 100 business transactions, which fuels our desire to share our experiences and wisdom so you can succeed. Now here's your host, CEO Mastery Partners, Tom Bronson.
Hi, this is Tom Bronson, and welcome to Maximize Business Value, a podcast for business owners who are passionate about building long-term sustainable value in your business. You know, every business on the planet will eventually transition. Wouldn't you rather transition your business by design as opposed to by default if something happens? Well, if you're a business owner who wants to build value and eventually transition your business on your terms, you found the right place. This episode is part of our series on my latest book, Maximize Business Value Playbook, 65 specific actions to dramatically increase the value of your business. Today, we're starting a new section, Legal Matters. Yay! If you're following along in the book, we're on chapter 18, review your corporate documents. So I say, review your corporate documents and make sure that everything is in order. Every business has corporate records, and many businesses keep those records in a corporate records documents book. Documents that are organized and accurate indicate to a potential buyer that the records are in order and move a transition along much faster. Whether you keep it in a book or in a file, or are your corporate documents up to date? Now, unless you're in the tiniest minority of businesses, the answer is typically no. We talk to hundreds of businesses each year, and I always ask that question. When we start our signature Transition Readiness Assessment engagement, that is one of the first questions out of my mouth. And of the hundreds of TRAs we've completed, the most common answer we hear from our clients is simply no. Occasionally we hear almost, but they haven't been updated yet this year. Now, only once have we ever heard the answer yes. And that stopped me in my tracks. Really? Yes? I had to ask because now I'm curious. I have to see it. No one's ever answered that question yes. So where's your book? Now, mind you, this was a 27-year-old company. The answer was that the book was in the credenza behind his desk. And I thought, well, that's a good sign. So I asked him to go get it. And when he brought it out, I could see that it had 26 years worth of dust on top of the book. So I pulled it out of its sleeve and literally cracked it open. The spine broke. Clearly, it had not been updated in many years. Now, this business was a C Corp. And when I asked where the shareholder minutes were, the business owner claimed that he didn't need shareholder minutes because he was the sole shareholder. But the rules for corporate records, which vary by business type, don't say that it's okay to not have minutes if you only have one shareholder. C Corps are required to hold an annual shareholder meeting, even if there's only one shareholder, and even if there's no business to be transacted. Corporate records also need to include all corporate resolutions. Now, if a business has any bank debt, then corporate resolutions authorizing that debt are almost always required by the bank. The resolution, including other required documents depending on the type of business, should be contained in the corporate records. These records should include organizational documents, corporate filing receipts, stock certificates, stock ledger, assumed name certificates, board minutes, and more. Even if the business is not required to maintain certain records like board minutes, it's always a good idea to maintain them anyway. Now, of course, Any business owner can research the type of records that are required for the business in their specific state. Still, the best way to know for sure what documents a business is required is to have a corporate attorney or a CPA review the records annually. That may be expensive at the first time you go around, but if it's maintained on an annual basis, it's so easy to do. Many business owners just ask their corporate attorney or CPA to hold and maintain the records. Now, okay, why is it important to the value of a business? Well, the simple fact of the matter is that every business on the planet will eventually transition. You've heard that somewhere before, I think. When it's time for a business to transition, particularly if the business sells to a third party, the buyer will put the seller through due diligence. Now, due diligence is the process of reviewing all of the business records to ensure that the seller has appropriately represented the business. Now, however, having been through due diligence over 100 times in my businesses, I can tell you that due diligence is designed for one thing and one thing only: to adjust the purchase price. So one of the first things a buyer will ask for in due diligence is the corporate records. If the corporate records are incomplete or unorganized, then the buyer will dig in, because that's a sign that perhaps additional things are not being properly maintained. This disorganization will make the buyer wonder what else they're going to find in due diligence. Disorganized records just slow down due diligence. And if there's one thing a seller wants, it's a speedy due diligence process. The quicker the due diligence, the faster the closing. All right, so our maximize business value recommendations this week. Number one, make certain that all of your corporate documents and records are on file and up to date. Number two, have a corporate attorney or a CPA review them annually. If you like, send them to us. We'll be happy to review them for you. And number three, search for the free stuff section of the masterypartners.com and listen to the Maximize Business Value podcast on due diligence, and read our blog post, The Dreaded Due Diligence, on our blog page, masterypartners.com/blog. Next week, we're going to talk about the benefits of consolidating ownership. That'll be exciting. This is the Maximize Business Value podcast, where we give practical advice to business owners on how to build long-term sustainable value in your business. If this is the first time that you found the Maximize Business Value podcast, then there are more than 175 episodes just crammed with valuable information, just waiting to be downloaded wherever you found this one. So go download some of them today. Until next time, I'm Tom Bronson, reminding you to pick one thing, just one thing, to dramatically improve the value of your business, and do it today while you maximize business value.
Thank you for tuning into the Maximize Business Value podcast with Tom Bronson. This podcast is brought to you by Mastery Partners, where our mission is to equip business owners to maximize business value so they can transition on their terms. Learn more on how to build long-term sustainable business value and get free value-building tools by visiting our website, www.masterypartners.com. That's master with a Y, masterypartners.com. Check it out.
That was perfect. I wouldn't make any changes on that.